Aether Captains is a game of air combat set in a steampunk universe, so you have this Victorian, early 20th century feel together with sci-fi technology and most importantly flying vessels. That really is a staple of steampunk. And in this game, in fact, you are going to lead a vessel of the Emperor against the air pirates that are plaguing the dominion of the Emperor. If you manage to destroy the group of pirates that are attacking you in the game, of course, if they destroy your vessel, you lose the game. This is a solitaire game, and this is a free print and play game, so you can just make your own copy without having to spend much. Just the ink and the paper and the work. However, you can also purchase a professionally printed copy, like I did. I purchased this copy, this edition of the game, from Andrew Toulson. Andrew is a very well-known presence on Board Game Geek precisely because of his gorgeous editions of print and play games that you can purchase from him. I have several of these editions of games. I sometimes buy a game from him when a game that is print and play would take me too long to assemble, too much work, or the components are too complicated. In this case, we have a game that is supposed to be played using wooden cubes with the print and play components stickered on them, and I wouldn't even know where to start from to look for the right cubes. Then probably I would mess things up as I build the cubes, as I assemble the components. So I just thought, I'll just go ahead and get this copy, and I'm glad I did because the copy looks really good. By the way, using the cubes is not strictly necessary. You can just print the components, and then for each illustrations that will go on one of the sides of the cube, you just make a chit, and when a random roll is necessary, you draw the chit from the pool, and when you need to rotate the cube to indicate the change or a certain stat, then you simply move the chits, from the top to the bottom, or from the bottom to the top of a stack of chits that you placed in order. So it works also with chits instead of with cubes, but with cubes it just looks better. I wanted that edition. I have it. Again, I'm glad I did. So in this review, you're going to be able to take a good look at this edition of the game, and of course, we're also going to talk about gameplay. Do not worry, I will not forget about that. In this game, you control a flying vessel represented by 6 wooden cubes. Each cube represents a section of your vessel, and each side of the cube represents the present condition of that section. All sections start at full strength. If a section takes a hit, you rotate that section to indicate the reduced level of strength, and each subsequent hit reduces the strength of that section further until the section reaches this side, the side indicated by that symbol there in the top right corner. That is called black cross, and that is bad because if 4 black crosses are present on your ship at the same time, then your vessel is destroyed and you lose the game. You're trying to destroy all enemy ships before 4 black crosses appear on your ship, before they are visible on your vessel. But luckily enough, there are also ways in the game in which you can repair your damage. In any case, your vessel starts at full strength at the beginning of the game. Then you have 6 cubes representing the enemies that you are facing. The cubes have different enemy vessels printed on their sides. So at the beginning you roll the cubes, and that tells you the enemies that you will face. You roll 1d12 for each such enemy to find the position of the enemy. All enemies start adjacent to your vessel or adjacent to one another, and you roll, and then you count positions starting from here, which is position 1. You go down and then up here until position 12. So I rolled a 1 and this vessel goes here. I roll a 7, this enemy goes here, and so on and so forth. You may have several enemies in the same position. That is perfectly possible and legal. So this is how the game may look at start. As you can see, all enemy vessels have a number printed in a triangle. That is the initial and maximum level of strength of that vessel, and to indicate that you place the enemies with that triangle facing your vessel at the beginning of the game. As the unit takes hits, you rotate it to indicate the reduced level of strength, and if the enemy goes down to 0 or less than 0, then it is removed from the game. And this is the way in which you destroy your opponent. Now, the first thing that you have in a turn is enemy attacks. And the basic concept in this game is that when you're trying to do something, or your opponents are trying to do something, you roll die checking against a value. If you roll more than that value, you succeed. If you roll equal to or less than that value, you fail. So for each enemy that is attacking you, and all enemies are attacking every turn, you roll die. If you roll more than their firepower, which is the red number printed on their unit, they inflict a hit. If you roll equal to or less, nothing happens. However, when they inflict a hit, you still have a chance to defend. Now, it's you trying to defend against that to be successful against their attacks, so you roll against your defense number. Each section of the ship has a blue number. If you roll higher than that number, you annul the hit of the opponent. If you roll equal to or less than that, then the enemy scores a hit and you rotate the cube that was hit. After your enemies have attacked, all enemies can move. For each enemy unit, you roll 1d12. If you roll 1 to 4, the enemy moves 1 position counterclockwise. 5 to 8, the enemy stays where it is. 9 to 12, the enemy moves 1 position clockwise. After this, it is finally time for you to act. During your phase, you can move or attack, usually not both. If you decide to move, you use your green value printed on this cube here. That is your engine value, your movement value. You need to roll more than that number. If that is the case, then you can move your ship by 1 position, up or down. However, you can do so. Oops, the camera is falling. The pirates are attacking. However, you can move only if you're not leaving enemy units behind. In this case, since I have an enemy at each of my extremities, I cannot move because I would leave enemies behind. So what I have to do here is to attack. I have no other choice. But if this is the case and I roll more than my engine number, then I could move here. I don't know, in this case it would be beneficial, I haven't checked, but it's a possibility. In any case, you are still just choosing to have a chance to move. It may or may not work. Whereas if you're attacking, you know for sure that you'll be able to attack with several of your guns, so attacking usually is a better option. Attacking. To attack, you use the red number printed on your cubes. Only some cubes have red numbers. That means that only some cubes have guns. And each gun has a certain number of squares that indicates the range of that gun. As you can see, those numbers can change from cube to cube, both the firepower and the number indicating the range. And as your ship takes hits, also those number becomes higher, the firepower numbers become higher, the range numbers become lower, and that indicates the reduced quality of your weapons as you are taking hits. In any case, the range is the number of positions up to which you can fire. The first position is the position facing the guns, and then adjacent positions are an extra position. For example, with a range 2, I could fire against that enemy because that enemy is at range 1 and 2. With 3, on this side, I could fire 1, 2, and 3. Yes, I can reach that enemy there. When you're trying to attack an opponent, well, you guessed it, you roll 1d12. If you roll more than the current firepower of the cube that you're using, you inflict a hit on the opponent. In that case, you roll 1d12, you divide the result by 3, rounded down, you drop in fractions. So in this case, my hit was a dud because in this case 2 divided by 3 rounded down is 0. Here, this hit much better. It is a 3, and you rotate the cube of the ship that you hit to indicate the loss in strength that the unit is taking from your hit. So that ship, if hit with that hit die, goes from 6 to 3. and that's it, you recorded that. After all of your attacks, you can try to repair a section of your ship by using your repair value, which is the number printed in that yellow dot. You roll more than that, you can turn one of your dice to improve that dice by one phase, by one click, by one level. Then last but not least, you roll the crew die that will grant you a bonus for next turn. At the end of each turn, you roll the die to see the bonus that you receive the following turn. This symbol here will give you a +1 in movement, or +1 in attack, or +1 in defense. This one gives you +1 in defense, +1 in attack. The diplomat prevents an enemy ship from attacking. The lieutenant allows you to move and to attack. And did I show them all? Oh, here, very important one. The engineer gives you a free repair. Very important. That means that on top of trying to repair a section of your ship by rolling against your yellow number, you're also receiving a free and automatic repair at the end of the turn, which is pretty good. And the crew die is in fact pretty powerful. The bonuses that you receive from it are really good, and I wonder, maybe even a little too good. This is a very simple game and very light, clearly, and very luck-based. Clearly you roll dice for everything. Rarely do you have a decision that really is crucial to make. In most cases, you will just immediately identify what's the next thing to do, and so you just follow the adventure. So it is a very light filler, not particularly deep, not particularly sophisticated maybe, but fun. And why? Because of the pace. At least the pace to me is what really makes the game fun, and it is a very fast pace. You roll, attack, resolve, defense, attack. Now I'm attacking, attack, damage. The pace is so fast that I always want to see what happens next turn, and turns just go one after the other so quickly. And actually that also creates the one more game feel. That is, right after you finish a game, you're like, why don't I try it again? And you start thinking that you're going to play a game as a filler in 20 minutes, half an hour, and 3 hours later you're still there playing a game after the other. That is a list what happens to me. The game, however, has a problem, at least for me, for my taste, and it is not a small one. That is, simply put, I find the game too easy. I just find it way too easy to win. Maybe it is because I'm used to very tough solitaire games in which you lose most of the times. Not because I'm a masochist that I like this type of games, but I think it is when you lose a game and you start building that sense of frustration that then when you finally win, that matters. Then you have that yes feel. And that is also in those cases that when you think you may be winning, the last couple of turns really become exciting. Here, playing the base game and even adding some of the expansions that are meant to make the game tougher, still I was winning continuously. I didn't feel much of a challenge. I found that I was able to repair the damages from the opponents much faster than they were able to inflict damage on me. After some of my sections of the ship became useless, the opponents kept firing against those, and that was completely useless to them. So they were wasting attacks, they were losing effectiveness as my ship was being damaged, which I think should be the other way around. And just things like this. Also, the fact that when they attack you, they have to hit you, and then you have a defense roll. You do not have to do a defense roll when you attack them. I just found it was pretty easy to win without much of an effort. However, the very good thing about this design is that it is incredibly flexible. I just found it so easy to house rule things and to tweak things here and there. So much so that actually for the first time in my life I came up with what I think is a full variant. I've never done it before. I had house rules things here and there, but the idea of changing it enough that it has the feel of a real variant, that is something new to me. That is, again, to say that the game invites you to do so. The game is so simple to change, so simple to modify, so simple to make your own, that I think it is not only something that is legitimate to do, but in a certain way almost the design really asks you to do so. The design is so easily customizable that I think if there's something you do not like in the original version, then you can just create your own version of the game very easily. And it has a nice feel. I really felt that part of the fun was to change the game to make it more of what I wanted it to be. So this is a game that's fun both playing and modifying. If you're curious about my variant, it is called Horde of the Revenants. It is available on Board Game Geek. If you want to play the game the way it is, the way it comes out of your printer or out of the box, of course you're perfectly free to do so. Maybe that's exactly what you want. That night you're tired, you just want to play a very simple game. You see the action, you just see the action happening. You can create your own variant, so I think that there's a design that has a lot of virtues. It can be very cheap if you decide to make your own copy, so overall this is to me a good game, and one that I would recommend if you're looking for a light filler with an interesting sci-fi theme, again with this little warning that it may be a game that you will have to change a little bit before it really suits what you're asking for from the game.